remember when George Lucas was being super petty about Star Wars and Disney?
When isn't he?
Well, I mean, like initially after the sale, and he was like, "I sold my property to white slavers, and now it's like an ex-girlfriend's house that I drive by on the occasion, and I just look at it." First of all, George, no sane man drives by their ex-girlfriend's house and just looks at it.
No.
All he did was he just went and adopted like 7 more children.
Yeah. So I don't know. I haven't read the full story yet, but just the headline alone just makes it sound like the most petty thing ever. Warner Brothers.
It is kind of a cheeky tweet that is referring to.
Okay.
But here's the big caveat with this.
The problem is Warner Brothers. It's Warner Brothers, and I just feel like they could be like, "Yeah, Ryan, I know you're a big star now, but can we have that back?"
Yeah. Fuck you for making fun of us in your new movie.
Yeah, exactly that. Oh, you want to make fun of us? Well, we want our ring back.
Oh, okay. You can have the most horrible decision I ever made in my life back.
Yeah, here, take it.
Oh, wouldn't that actually be dating Alanis Morissette?
Oh, Jesus.
Damn.
Wow.
He and Dave Coulier are Eskimo brothers.
God damn it.
That is not a sentence I ever thought I'd hear. By the way, that's the most Canadian thing I've ever heard of.
Yeah, that is. Yeah.
That's a whole lot of Canada happening here. Anyway, hi, I'm Connor McGraw, and welcome to this, what I predict is going to be a very zany episode of Phantom Zone After Dark.
Arlen Harrow here. I can concur. This will be very, very weird.
Eric's like, not yet.
Who's next?
Bonesaw is ready.
Get on my energy, guys. Come on.
I'm Eric Fedorchak, and I am just 5 feral Dachshund mixes wearing a trench coat.
Oh my god. You may actually kill somebody. No, that is too timely. By the way, I'll introduce yourselves, finish introducing yourselves, and I'll tell my story about work today.
I guess I'll go next. I'm Lou Gonzalez. I have nothing funny to say right now.
Sorry.
I'm Alan Muir, and I saw 2 androids kiss, and it was weird. It was weird, man. It was weird.
Was it weird, or did it make you feel weird inside?
Yeah.
Certain special places?
Yes.
Did you decide to write some fan fiction?
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Oh, no.
Want to talk about fan fiction?
It is way too early for this.
You've summoned me.
So
you can't put the genie back at the bottom.
Bullshit. I wish for him to be free. Go away.
Damn. Wow.
Yeah, there it is. Ha. The gold bracelets are off you now. Go fly away.
I've sprouted wings and no.
I just want to point something out. The Warner Brothers Twitter, the movie that they currently have up on their header is Tomb Raider, so I just wanted to let that want to let that be known.
Back to Eric's joke about 5 dachshunds being stacked on top of each other. So a woman in Oklahoma, I believe, was actually killed by 7 wild dachshund terrier mixes. Which is a horrible way to go. But when I went to work today, I mentioned that, and people who were all animal handlers, and they were like, "What the fuck?" It's the weirdest thing.
It's just the whole story with them being a quote unquote neighbor's dogs. No, they weren't.
No,
they were feral monsters.
they were a pack in the woods.
Yeah, but that's the thing too. I don't understand, because I haven't had a whole lot of experience with feral animals, but 9 times out of 10, unless you're really messing with their territory or coming across as aggressive to them,
they shouldn't be coming out to get you, is what you're trying to imply.
Exactly.
Were they rabid?
No.
No,
they actually didn't. They didn't have any signs of outward illnesses or diseases.
Well, yeah, they didn't want to do the rabies testing because it would cost too much, if I remember correctly.
So they don't. They're not positive, but it's unlikely because they said in otherwise great health outside of fleas, ticks, and just looking really disgusting.
Yeah.
Where's Jeff Ramsey when you need him?
I was gonna say this is like a Cujo, like a new Cujo setup.
Yeah, but much smaller and much meaner.
Okay, here's the thing, and I was trying to tell this
on.
I was telling to people this on Iz's Facebook. When you wrestle a single giant dog, you kind of figure out what to do really fast.
I
You're
can
like-
speak from experience. Yes.
You're like, this thing is big, and in some situations when I've been working with them, if they're trying to eat you, like the best thing to do is you got to fight it a bit, and eventually it's gonna get tired,
hmm
and you know where its soft spots are, so you just kind of just put a little like you don't try to choke the dog out, but you put it into place and go like, listen, I'm in charge the next 5 minutes. Like,
Well,
You relax.
just from
Yeah, you
just
fucking
from their
fight
sheer
down.
size, like you can actually get a hold of their upper jaw and lower jaw and hold on to it and not have to worry about your hands getting
There's
bit.
Yeah, like King Kong in that one movie.
yeah.
Could.
But seven gnashing little dogs are gonna fuck your world up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it has to do with how little. Like 40 pounds, yes. If they're like 12 pounds,
Oh,
I
okay,
think
yeah,
you
here's
could
the
take
thing.
7.
If you get taken down by 7 10-pound dogs, you're probably
That's
disabled.
70 pounds. That's still
Yeah.
70 pounds.
That's
It's 70
Yes.
pounds,
Yeah.
but in comparison, these were like, they said they didn't weigh more than 40, which means they probably were like 30, 35,
Yeah.
if my
Right.
guess is correct. So based on that guess, it's like 250 to 280 pounds of dog attacking you?
Yeah,
like
I
that.
mean, it's like being
Not-
attacked by 4-year-olds, which I mean, a single
Actually-
4-year-old is not
It's
bad.
like that thing
I
where
think-
like people have chimpanzees as pets, and then they bite your face off.
Yeah, it's kind of, I don't want to say it's similar, but like it's kind of along the same lines. Like, it's a chimp probably equals about 7 small to medium dogs, just because of how fucking aggressive and ferocious they are.
Yeah.
But that's still one mass. You don't have 7 different points of attack
Exactly.
coming at
There's
once.
7 different,
Okay.
and
You're
all
right.
it takes is one pair of jaws to land on the right spot once, and that's
Yep.
it.
See, I think I would rather
here's a
take the
legit
dogs
question.
than the chimp.
Here's a legit,
Same.
question. How many dachshunds do you think you can take on a fight? I got at least 2.
If we're okay,
Wait, like
standard
regular?
dachshunds?
Standard
dachshunds?
dachshunds.
No
Standard
fucking
dachshund.
thank you.
I think
No,
it's,
you know what a standard dachshund is?
it's 11 pounds.
Yeah.
That's like a mini dachshund.
Yeah.
I get
Standard
two.
dachshund, like adult standard dachshund, is probably like 30 pounds.
No,
Yeah,
I
it's
Googled
like the
it.
difference between a toy poodle and a standard poodle.
My,
Like,
my parents have a mini dachshund. It's like 6 pounds.
Yeah,
Because
Yeah.
regular
they're-
dachshund, like
oh yeah, you could stomp those things backs like sticks. Like you would just crack, 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 crack. Like yeah.
Eric knows from
Yeah.
experience.
I also think you could just
No.
you could just climb up like something that's like 3 feet and you'd be fine. Because it's not like they got good ups.
I mean-
well, yeah, but then they would form a pile like
Right.
World War Z and just come
Or
at you.
yeah, or Tremors 2, when the but yeah, a lot
God
of
damn
things that happen. For those who don't remember
Damn it.
Tremors 2, the worms turn into chickens. That's a thing that happened.
Oh, that's
Um,
right.
Yeah, and they can sense
I've-
heat. They're
I've
deaf.
never imagined them as chickens. They totally are. Oh my god.
They're just giant chickens. It's so goofy.
And in the third one, they get wings.
That
Of
yeah,
course.
ass blasters.
They
You know,
fly.
it's, Did you guys see the fucking trailer for Kevin Bacon's pilot for the TV series?
Yeah,
No,
I
I
was
didn't get a
conflicted
chance to.
about it.
I'm sad that I didn't get it because it actually looked pretty tense.
So here's the thing: if at some point Bert came in, and they don't even need to acknowledge
No,
all of his
he was-
movies, just like
I think
one of them.
I think like most of the original cast, including Earl, I think his name was.
Well, he was in like all of them.
Yeah. Bert and Earl, I think, were both on board for it. If
They
if
needed
asked.
to get Reba McEntire.
Yeah. I don't. Well, that's the
Like
thing.
she's
Like, Bert
doing
is weird.
anything.
Because like, if that show had gone on, you'd have 2 different timelines for the Tremors verse,
I mean,
which
yeah.
is a really weird sentence to say.
Hey, Flashpoint.
Tremors cinematic universe.
Yeah, like
Oh,
at
no.
some point, the Crisis on Infinite Tremors.
Oh, the
But-
TCU. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you know.
Tremors
The
on
Dark
Infinite
Knight
Earths.
universe.
Oh no.
You have 2 different Vals from 2 different universes, and one Val dies. This is
So,
we're going real deep into Tremors right now.
So against my own judgment, but with all of yours, I didn't watch Hellraiser Judgment recently, so
Why? Why?
I didn't.
Okay,
Oh.
I think you did. I got really sad for a second there.
No, I'm still going to eventually, but I just haven't yet.
That's the one that looks like a really bad Silent Hill ripoff, right?
Yes, but I'll take
Yeah.
a really bad Silent Hill ripoff based on over what they gave me last time, which was
Oh, you mean
downright
Drunkle Pinhead?
So it looks like Silent Hill Revelations. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Fucking dumb.
Actually, it looks just like Silent Hill Revelation.
Oh, that's depressing.
Yeah, and apparently, like, the premise of the new movie is like that hell has to come up with like a new way to punish the damned. So it's like our system's busted. We gotta find our new one.
That's their fucking job. What?
That's so
It's the only thing we
genuine.
do, but we're doing it badly.
Your reaction is the most genuine. Like, what the hell are you talking about? God, that's so great.
What?
You guys do one thing and you suck at it.
What?
How do you fuck up that bad?
Also, like, how is one form of punishment more effective than the other one when it's eternal? It doesn't matter. There's no long-term consequence.
I'm so bothered by that.
Oh
I
man,
just really like the idea of like Satan just being in hell, be like, you know what, guys, I don't think this is
having a
working.
fucking board meeting with like other demons.
You know,
He's
guys,
having a crisis
Fucking
of.
Danny Rand is there for some reason.
Well, it wouldn't even be Satan. It would just be that weird pillar from Hellraiser 2. It's just like, this isn't working.
You guys were,
I'm-
like, you guys were half the
displeased.
idea of the Lucifer book.
What?
Yeah, the Neil Gaiman Lucifer, basically, he just gets bored. That's like the whole idea. He just gets
Oh my
bored and
God.
leaves hell.
Yeah,
He's
but
like,
I don't think that's nearly as goofy as what I just said.
No. No, especially not after what was established in the first however many Hellraisers there are. That like there are so many different ways they torture people and make them feel horrible about their sins. But nope, none of it's working. What?
Not a single
What?
one of these ideas have landed. We gotta come up with something new.
I don't understand. Like peeling their flesh off and throwing them into vats of salt just doesn't seem to be that effective anymore.
That's because it's just physical pain. They don't get down to the emotions.
Yeah.
No,
I
I'm
mean,
pretty. I'm
You
pretty
mean
sure
like
they've got that
Frank
covered.
and you mean Frank in Hellraiser 1 where he's constantly being tormented by women lustfully moaning but he can't do anything with them?
Yep.
Like give me a
That's
fucking
dumb.
break.
That's dumb.
The people who are holding on to Hellraiser are like holding it hostage, basically. Like every time you ask for us to give it away, we're gonna make a shitty movie.
Pretty
We're
sure
gonna
that's
find-
Dimension. And
Yep.
Yeah, it is.
so, thanks, not Harvey Weinstein. Harvey Weinstein's brother, whose name I can't remember.
Anyway,
Who
what's our
cares?
first official news item since we've
Yeah.
gone
Yeah.
off this
Yeah, no,
this
no
roller
speed-
coaster has gone some places.
Yeah, no
Well, that
speed
actually-
round this week, but Marvel hired writers for Eternals, which means it's more likely to be happening. Other than just Kevin Feige saying, "Yeah, we're probably going to do Eternals."
Well, it makes
they hired
sense.
Writers.
I'm so down for Eternal showing up,
Yeah.
And
honestly.
Feige we trust though, so
Yeah, and it's
Same.
like you said. It's like I think you had said in a prior episode, Arlen, about how, all right, so Ike got the Inhumans. Cool, we're just going to get the Eternals, and we're just going to do the best possible job.
Mhm.
They're going to have a guy named Blue Lightning, and he'll not be able to talk, but he'll have I don't know something.
I don't know if they'll go that far.
I also think it's a shot at Warner Brothers because they basically said this after Warner Brothers. What was it that they pitched that was also done by Kirby?
Yeah.
New Gods?
New
I don't know
Gods.
if it's
Oh.
quite that, because I feel like they've had this in the works for a while. Like,
Yeah.
It feels like why he's just getting back at Ike for ruining Inhumans. He's just like,
it is.
"What?
Oh
Fuck
no,
you."
that's totally what's happening because there was a. I mean, we talked about this on here before. There was a breakup basically between the two of them after his. I've always assumed that it was a very Game of Thrones like moment where he was like, "No, now I'm in control
Wait,
of
hold on.
the."
Are you saying he Red Weddington walked up and like
Yes.
put a pencil in his chest and was like, "The mouse sends his regards."
Yeah, something like that.
That's
Yeah,
actually. Did you guys see George R. R. Martin's tweet yesterday?
No.
No.
He tweeted, it was like about the royal wedding, and he's like, "Oh, nobody died, lame."
Best
Oh, no,
best
I have it here.
royal wedding
God.
The
response.
exact tweet was, "No deaths. What a letdown." # royal wedding.
I figured his tweet would be trapped under 15 pounds of pizza. Send help.
I honestly, or something along the lines of like, I just finished page 10 of The Winds of Winter. Aren't you guys excited? It's only been 20 years.
I just
Stop
finished
being
the
worried
forward.
about my health.
By the way, do you guys remember I'm pretty old?
And
And
may
I'm
die at
also
any moment.
overweight. I probably have
It's like
diabetes.
him and George Miller are like the two people where I'm like, please find the fountain.
No, George Miller's gonna live forever. I'm pretty sure.
That's like the guy who writes Berserk, who I can't remember the name of right now, who's going to die before that manga.
And Guts will be left in a boat for the rest of your life.
Yep, R.I.P.
But yeah.
So what's Berserk? Well, someone gets in a boat. The end.
Someone gets in a boat, and then Mira goes out and plays World of Warcraft for like 10 years.
Two guys have a disagreement, and somebody gets in a boat. What then? We're still waiting.
We'll see.
That's why I'm glad Dragon Ball got a new sequel in my lifetime, or in Toriyama's lifetime anyway.
Yeah,
Yep.
before he kicks a bucket.
And it's
Well-
wonderful, by the way.
And he handed the reins over, and now they're doing a movie.
Yeah, by the way, just not to go off on like a Dragon Ball tangent, but that movie looks beautiful.
Yeah, they just
Yeah.
released images for Gohan, I think, today.
It somehow looks and moves like something from the 1970s.
It looks
and yet
almost,
completely modern.
it looks like kind of watercolory and very,
Yes, like
Huh.
it looks super old school and somehow completely high tech. I don't understand. Like, there's some madness behind that brilliance.
Interesting.
Yeah, like the colors are a
Anyways.
little more like, you know how like Goku's skin is a little browner. Like all the colors are just a little darkened to the point where it looks like watercolors or something like that.
Yeah, it's really
His-
cool looking.
His skin's brown. Not in my goddamn Dragon Ball Z. I ain't get-
Oh, you say
There's a
that, and I
cross-
laugh. But there's probably someone out there who's like, not
Yep.
like Goku.
Oh, hashtag. God damn it. But back to the Eternals. It kind of makes sense. Like I don't know their exact backstory because I always get it confused with the Kree and the Skrull and all the experimentation
They're-
that went on and made
they're
the Inhumans.
They're basically people who are offshoot of humanity who were experimented on by the Celestials.
Okay.
yeah, because
Okay.
I'm looking at a
okay.
list and there's just like random characters because like
They're
Thanos
they're
is
awesome.
one.
They're really good.
Technically,
Yeah.
yes, I guess in the book.
Yeah,
Well, and I mean, Neil Gaiman did a like 12-issue run, which I think I'd mentioned before, of the Internals a couple of years ago, and well, probably like 10 years ago, and it wasn't bad, but it's one of those things that I have to read it where I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense now, and then the minute I finish it, I'm like, what happened? What was the history?
Also, there's an Eternal called El Vampiro. So hell yeah.
Okay, I'm in.
Oh,
I'm
I
in.
saw- one was named
Yeah.
Uranus.
Named what now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
There's,
but
like,
yeah.
When I saw the,
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say there's like 4 different generations of Eternals.
Why not?
So like the first generation, if you like looking at the images, they look very New God.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of
I
them's
mean-
name is just Mentor.
I mean, they'll
Yeah, well,
they'll Thor it up
he's
with the
Thanos'
costumes,
dad,
so.
if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
I thought
believe
Mentor was
so.
Thanos' father.
Well, there's Kronos. I believe
Yeah,
that might be Thanos' father.
Kronos is his grandfather, I think.
Yeah.
I listened to a podcast about this actually, so I should remember this, but I don't. But yeah, I don't know. So yeah, Eternals. But I guess the
there's
exciting
a group of
thing.
Eternals. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So the writers that they hired, and I shared this in one of the chats. I don't know if I shared it with all the chats. They have a blacklist script, multiple blacklist scripts. And for those who don't know what the blacklist is, it's a series of scripts that are selected every year that are considered too good to ever get made, basically.
Okay.
That's like no
Yeah,
studio will ever make
Your
this.
movie gets bought and held hostage for quality.
Yes, basically. And these are two guys who have multiple blacklist scripts, and the movie that they have that will be produced and is coming out next year is called Ruin, and it's about a former member of an SS death squad who goes after the other surviving members of his death squad and to presumably
And they fight the
kill him.
Predator.
I mean, I would love that. And Gal Gadot is apparently rumored to be in it at
As
some
a
point.
Predator?
I don't know. But no, so yeah, like based off of that plot summary, these guys
They
they'll do
there's something they know they're
interesting.
doing.
Yeah, yeah.
But oh, shit, what was I gonna say?
I'd never worry about talent in Kevin Feige assembles because it seems like he never screws up. So
I remember now.
Thor 2.
Yeah.
Why? What are they gonna happen?
Alan,
it's a bit
shut
cruel.
Arlen, what are they afraid is gonna happen if they release the scripts? Like, if they're too good to be made, why don't they release them?
No, so that's the thing. What happens with Blacklist is these are movies that will just not get made, but they're bought anyways.
Okay, so they just buy them because like
basically,
the scripts.
It's this cannot fall into the hands of anyone else.
Yes.
Okay.
So I must have it.
But we don't think that we will ever be able to make this ever. And these scripts do get produced sometimes, but they usually get produced much later on, and they don't necessarily get produced by the right directors all the times. So there are a couple of them that aren't great when they have been adapted. But it's like
Chronicle one of the Blacklist ones?
I do believe it was on. I do believe it was on the Blacklist at some point. But yeah, like Watchmen is the best comparison I can think of for most of these scripts, in that it's so high concept and it's so weird and out there that nobody thinks it's possible to film these movies.
Wasn't that like Wrinkle in Time was one of those?
That's based off a book. So
but I think it was one of those things where they were they were trying to do something like this can never get made.
Yeah,
and then they made it.
You know what made him out on the Blacklist? But like, you can make a documentary about its writing process and how people basically thought it was impossible to make. Freddy vs. Jason. Freddy vs. Jason took 10 years to make because every script they got, they're like, we can't do this.
Well, there's a lot of reasons for that.
And then they made Freddy vs. Jason.
Yeah, it actually has a very similar story to Behind the Scenes of AVP, in that in all 4 franchises, the producers don't like the producers from the other franchises. Believe it or not.
My alien's better than your alien.
Well, also, like, the other thing was, people kept turning in scripts that were, like, too big for their britches. Like, one of them included Michael Myers, one of them included an ending with Pinhead.
That's the one I wish we got out.
One of them, I think, featured cameos from Chucky and somebody else. Like, they just kept, like, just shoehorning in other horror icons, and they're like, we can't buy 5 characters and go do this. This is impossible.
We can't do this unless we're Steven Spielberg.
Yeah, the only one that was close was like they were trying to do Ash versus Jason versus Freddy, and that was the only one that was close, I think.
Well,
I think you're right.
Was I think was it New Line? New Line was like, well, we don't want Bruce Campbell for Ash. We want Treat Williams, and Sam Raimi was like, you can go fuck yourself in every hole you have, and he walked away.
Wow.
Good.
See, I really wish Freddy vs. Jason would have leaned more into Freddy's a child molester, and Jason basically is a representation of Christian fundamentalism. So who do you want to win this? Who are you going to back in this fight?
I do like the idea that Ronnie Yu did, where he turned them both into, like, elemental figures.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was interesting. Ronnie Yu did some interesting stuff.
Freddy vs. Jason is a really interesting movie if you take out all the shitty humor and jokes.
And dropping the F word.
Yeah, the F word, the new F word.
Yes.
That, like, I guess the original writers went to see the movie, and when that happened, they were like, well, that wasn't in our fucking script.
Yeah.
All
this can be seen in, what's that documentary?
Crystal Lake Memories.
Yeah, that's what it's called. Good documentary. It's like 5 hours
long.
It's
a 7-hour documentary. Yeah. And
it's like Never Sleep Again.
Yes,
it's
the same people.
The exact same people. And in fact, it's weird when the Freddy vs. Jason stuff happens in both sides, because you could, like, excise the footage from both of those and put them together and probably have, like, a little hour mini documentary.
Yeah, and like the Jason X stuff is probably the most fascinating stuff, because that movie changed completely because of Scream.
That movie was basically and that movie was a substitute for Freddy vs. Jason because they just couldn't get it done.
Yeah,
and so was Friday the 13th Part 8. Okay, 9 was the tease, the official tease, because New Line bought it. Jason X was a substitute. 7 and 8 were both failed attempts to get Freddy into the movies, and they made those instead.
Yep.
Boo.
Yeah.
So I just really like the idea of them being like, we can't make this movie. Here's Jason X.
Well, no, because that movie started off as serious. Like, and you watch that movie now, and you're like, wow, they were going for comedy with this. But that happened because some producer at New Line saw Scream.
Okay, guys, he just wanted his machete back.
They saw Scream, and they're like, we have to add jokes to this movie. The movie has to have jokes now. Boom.
The thing is, though, that movie has the fucking coolest Jason kill of all time. I don't care what anybody says.
Is that the one at the party or at the rave?
It's the face freeze.
Oh, when
yeah.
he smashes.
Yeah.
Dips the girl in like liquid nitrogen and shatters her face on the fucking counter.
I do love.
It's pretty good.
Kane Hodder
scene.
wasn't in that one, right?
Kane Hodder was in that one. Kane Hodder was not in Freddy vs. Jason.
Every time I see this movie, like I've seen this movie like on in the background, and like what I can't get over is that like the machete-shaped surgical tool. What is that for?
What is that for?
It's to kill people with.
Slicing open like bugs and stuff. I don't know, like
Apparently.
giant bugs. Like,
Yeah, you know, the ones
Yeah.
they have in the Jason universe.
and then
I hate that movie because it's like Jason's idea is pretty simple. Like he's just a spirit of vengeance, and you can't really kill him.
He's a revenant. Like
He's a revenant. And then Jason X is like, oh no, his cells they regenerate at a accelerated rate.
yeah.
I'm like, fuck you for adding that stupid midichlorian-esque explanation for that.
Yeah, like so, like not to give credit to the Leprechaun franchise, but I don't believe there's a single line in there where they try to explain the Leprechaun more than the other
Nah,
movies
he
have.
just exists.
Yeah, it's like he's in space, bitches. Get fucking over it. He's in space now.
I think even Hellraiser in Space, which is Hellraiser Bloodlines, like over-explains the concept of the boxes to the point where the movie ends with a giant anti-box.
Well, yeah, it's the space station turns into a box to trap
Space
Pinhead.
Station turns into a box made of pure light.
And then there's
something
a
like
Star
that.
Baby at the end, or is there a different movie?
Yes, and then it leads into the movie Solar Babies.
God
Oh
damn it.
man.
Anyways, Eternals, guys. God damn it.
Yeah, no, I think it could be cool, and it could add a whole new layer
Yeah.
of superheroes for them to play with within the Marvel universe.
And they
Yeah.
could set up the She-Hulk defending Star Fox for sexual harassment and rape.
Yes,
That'll be interesting.
yes.
We'll get to that right when we get to Hank Pym slapping Janet Von D around.
It was the most ridiculous storyline ever.
Which
Yeah.
one?
The Star Fox one that Thanos set him up to like go through this gigantic universal trial that basically his powers institute that he is basically raping everyone.
Thanos?
Wow.
Oh yeah, I
Wait,
remember
but Star
that.
Fox is his brother, so he framed
Yes,
his brother
exactly.
for rape.
It sounds like a
Well,
fucking
yes.
cosmic
He doesn't-
episode of Law and Order.
He doesn't
No,
technically frame him.
uh,
He just brings up the point that because of the way his
Oh.
powers work, there's no way to ever know that anytime he has sex, that's actually consensual.
Yeah.
Wow.
And,
What a
and,
fucking
uh,
roundabout
She-Hulk-
way to get your brother in trouble.
That's
And
then
that's,
She-Hulk-
that's
Yeah,
almost
She-Hulk
like
again-
pretending to kill
again-
yourself to put your enemy in prison.
Again,
You know,
it sounds
and
like
then-
an episode of like Marvel Cosmic Law and Order.
And then after Thanos does that, he snaps someone's neck. So who's
Right.
who's the villain here?
Well, I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly, She-Hulk saves the day by proving that the Thanos that's there is not actually Thanos. It's one of his like shitty robot clones.
Wait,
Oh,
no,
God.
He didn't even get away with it.
No,
You
I
know,
think they do come to the conclusion that they have to like put an inhibitor on him, and he's like, "Yeah, I have to go figure out what I'm doing myself because this is kind of true."
I'm coming from like 20, 30 years of loving comics and reading them, but Jesus Christ, fuck comic books sometimes. Like, what the fuck?
I don't even
What?
think it's that long ago. Let me see.
No, I'm just saying within my history, like sometimes I just have to look at stuff and go, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
Are
Yeah,
you
but stuff like this is like what I like to use about enlightening non-comic reading friends like my buddy Joe, who just really watches the movies, and he's consistently thinking that Tobey Maguire is the worst thing ever. I'm like, do you know what's the worst thing to happen to Spider-Man is? He's like Uncle Ben in the movies and how often he cries. I'm like, no, Spider-Man Reign for starters.
Oh God, here we go.
Here we go again.
Oh, I did
Very-
I'll
remember.
never let that comic book die
It's
because
so
I think
funny.
humanity has to know about Spider-Man Reign until the sun explodes.
I do remember the one weird part of that story is that Thanos' thing was that all of his stuff is because Star Fox used his power to make him fall in love with death,
Oh.
and that's
Oh,
like
wow.
the
Finally
whole impetus on like the whole thing is that it was really weird. It's just really fucking weird.
Yeah,
Like there's no
wow.
other way to describe it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was in the 2000s. It wasn't that long ago.
Well, that was the Peter David run on She-Hulk, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Because
Yeah.
it was a She-Hulk book. It wasn't like his book.
Yeah.
It was-
Who knows?
Yeah.
Interesting. I'd be curious to. I don't think they'll ever cover that because I've always been of the opinion that if they do She-Hulk, she'll be in the Netflix stuff. Like,
Mhm.
if that
Yeah.
ever happens,
That would be a complete waste if she wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't
mean,
even
would it
think
not-
they'd give her Hulk powers necessarily.
No, you
I
just
know
gotta
No,
make
they
it
would
work.
have to.
All you gotta do.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I would love for her to have a law firm with Walters, Fergie, and Murdoch.
Or Foggy like loses his job and he's like, "Oh, what's this one?" And She-Hulk's in there.
Yeah, maybe. I would.
I
I guess.
think-
I mean, they could have her be She-Hulk if they're also. Well, okay, no, wait a minute. Do they incorporate Howard the Duck though?
Yes.
Because
Yes.
they're traditionally
that-
roommates.
Yes.
That could tie into the idea I just had, which just make it a Harvey Birdman attorney at law, except the Marvel world. And
Oh
it's
my
She-Hulk.
God,
God,
yes.
yes.
Yeah.
Isn't that show coming back?
It is coming back as Harvey Birdman, Attorney General.
Oh my god.
And
I
Bill
remember
Ken,
this, yeah.
hang on, listen to this.
Yes.
Plot. Bill Ken Seven becomes president, a red hat wearing president, and Harvey Birdman is using basically his entire branch of government to get him impeached.
So wait, is it still Stephen Colbert doing the
It
voice?
it is still everybody.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
'Cause I guess I never
can't
realized
Fucking wait.
that was kind of like Colbert's his character on Comedy Central.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird shit that he carried over from like this show to Comedy Central to like Rick and Morty. But I just started rewatching Harvey Birdman, Attorney at Law, and my God, that show is still as funny as the first time I saw it. Mostly because there's gags I don't remember because they happen in a millisecond.
Did you get that
Get that
thing?
thing.
I sent you. And again, my favorite is when they hey, he got that thing he sent you, and he deleted it, and he just hulks out and loses his shit in court.
You know,
I
is
love
this
when
all on Hulu? Because I really need to know the context of this.
YouTube.
Wait, dude, the entire show is on YouTube.
What?
Yes.
It's so good.
It's like from various sources because Cartoon Network didn't bother to like really put any effort into distribution and like kind of keeping tabs of it.
No, they would never do anything like
Never,
that.
no, not at all.
Oh,
And you can watch from various sources on YouTube all 39 episodes.
They do such a
Nice.
good job because it's there's the Flintstone crime family, Scooby and Shaggy get busted for pot.
Yogi and what was it? Boo Boo get what is it? Indecency.
Yes, for having no pants. Apache
Gator-
Chief is suing pseudo Starbucks because he
Oh, no,
got
I'm sorry.
burned on his crotch.
Yeah, Wally Gator. I think is trying to. He feels like his guns are being taken away. And there's tons of other shit.
Oh my! The best one, not the Venture, the actual real ones. The Johnny Quest.
Johnny Quest. Yeah, Dr. Quest goes into a custody battle with Race Bannon over custody for the boys. It's probably one of the best shows Cartoon Network's ever produced. Anyway, where were we?
Anyways, let's go to the next story. And Hunter, I'll let you lead off on this one, because yeah.
Hold on, I'm just pulling up the list now. Oh yeah, so WB in their targeted attempt to take down everyone on the show, they got Arlen with Swamp Thing. Now they're coming for me with Doom Patrol. Man, I don't know how to feel.
Well,
I-
this
Oh,
is going
fuck.
to be a spin-off, right?
I really want to tell Arlen about our Outsiders gag last night, but I feel like it's a bit too spoilery.
Yeah,
I'll
definitely.
find out when I listen. So.
I feel like you may get your wish finally.
You
finally.
might.
I
Yeah.
mean,
All right.
They're coming. But I'm saying they're coming for me. They're coming for me.
Well, did you not they had already when they released episodes of Teen Titans, Doom Patrol was one of the episode titles.
Yep.
Yeah.
right.
So this is a direct spin-off. So they're already spinning
Also-
off of a show that's not out yet.
Yeah, and here's the thing with Doom Patrol and Titans. Cyborg is going to debut on Doom Patrol and then transition over to Teen Titans.
Which is
Wait, what?
So
What?
Yeah.
is he gonna take the place of Robot Man?
So that
what
makes
is-
Teen
I
Titans
don't
the
know.
spinoff,
Well-
though.
Well,
That
the-
No,
makes-
because I think they're introducing Cyborg in the episode entitled Doom Patrol. He's going to.
Oh well.
I heard that. I heard something different. I heard basically Doom Patrol is going to be Beast Boy backstory
Oh.
because Beast Boy is originally a Doom Patrol character.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I kind of hope some of the weirdness of the Morrison run gets dropped into it, like that they have to fight the Dadaists. I
just they're gonna mess it up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's a given.
I mean,
Which is the one that Berlanti is involved in?
Berlanti's involved in all of these apparently.
Yeah.
All except for what's the one that you're all excited to come back? Young Justice. That's
And-
the only
well, it's
one
animated.
that he's not involved with. He's not involved with any of the animated stuff, but all the live action stuff he has a producer credit as far as I've seen. So, yeah.
Mm.
I don't know. I'm pretty excited for like any DC stuff that's coming to television or streaming because barring our specific gripes with the current CW crop aside, like all the stuff they've given they give us on CWC is pretty rad.
And
Oh,
also, so we gotta remember, part of the problem is that it's all on the CW.
Yeah.
These are on
This
a new network with
coming
its own
their
rules.
own network, yeah, with their own in-house people running it. I don't think you're going to run into the same problems.
Yeah.
And maybe if it does well enough, they'll move stuff off of CW into here because they're
I
going to
would
have to
be
create
for
more
that.
content in order to get subscribers.
Well,
'Cause-
showing. Oh, go ahead, Lou.
I was gonna say like 4 shows and back catalogs of old cartoons and stuff is gonna get people to spend how much a month?
Oh my god,
Well-
I know how they're gonna get me.
How are they gonna get you, Alan?
Static
gonna
Shock.
No, they're gonna put Smallville behind. They're gonna take Smallville off Hulu, put it behind a paywall.
I don't
Oh,
think they'll
God.
do that because Smallville's rights are weird.
They're complicated. Yeah.
Yeah. But
I would think they put all the animation stuff like Justice League,
In a
Batman
fucking
Beyond.
anything they produce in-house, like they made and got distributed by Warner Brothers,
Mhm.
like is totally coming to that service.
Oh yeah, like if they put all the animated movies on there, that might be worth it. And especially if the new ones are on there like a month after they come out on DVD, that would be worth it for me because even though I think I like half of those movies, they're directed DVD animated stuff. The half that I really like, and I don't
The,
really want to pay
the
for
in-universe
each
stuff?
one. Yeah, I thought their Justice League Dark was really good, but like Batman versus Robin or something like that was not the best.
That was- Yeah, that was their like really shitty the Court of the Owls thing, right?
Yeah, like
No, yeah.
they botched so much of it. Like, they got
Let-
Talon right.
Let's be
like-
honest. Who did worse, Gotham or DC animate the
Look,
No,
DCAU?
the
Look,
DC
in-
animated
okay.
stuff has a much
Let me-
better track record.
Let me put a moratorium on that. In perpetuity, Gotham will always be the worst Batman
Yes.
thing ever. Okay.
Yes.
In perpetuity, okay?
It will always be like it's that and it's Batman and Robin. And here's the thing: I haven't seen all of Gotham, but just based off the pure number of hours and the bad versus good that I assume is there, it's worse than Batman and Robin at this point.
Batman
At
and
least-
Robin makes me laugh because it is a very there's some sincerity in how fucking stupid it is.
Yes,
It is almost like the 60s level campy, just with like
Yeah,
better
it's
technology.
It is so stupid. They
Yeah.
click their heels together and ice skates pop out.
Yeah.
Like what the? That's entertaining.
Yeah.
What's happening on Gotham? Which, by the way, I don't know if anybody read what happened in the finale, but like, they might as well have taken the Batman mythos out behind a shed and shot it in the face.
You mean like that one guy posted that this is a better Joker than Heath Ledger? I think that was on the Pixels group. And
I told him his TV taste was gob shit.
I think that's an insult.
Gobshite?
But apparently, several villains who are like big players in Batman's future are fucking dead as of the finale.
And actually, the thing that bothers me the most is that they actually did Hugo Strange with an actor I like, who I thought could have pulled that off, and I just will never watch it because it's on this garbage shit show.
Yeah,
Pretty much done.
That's another good point.
And as well as Hush.
Well, because like
Oh, I didn't even know that, and that just makes me so much more angry because I love Hush.
Yeah, they
fuck
made
off.
they made him a clone.
What? How did they do
yeah,
Hush
no,
when
that's
he's
right.
not
I
even
remember
Batman?
hearing about this. He was yeah, just
It
Yeah,
doesn't even make sense. He's like 12.
well,
The thing
Bruce
is-
had a clone, I guess.
Guys, isn't this making you so excited for Agent Pennyworth?
No.
no, because it's the same people.
I know.
and
Well,
then he just tried to take over.
But
He just-
actually, I can tie this all back together. Watch this. Apparently, the idea of a joke being made about a young Alfred TV show or movie was already done in Teen Titans Go.
Oh, God.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So, a couple of you guys read Batman, right? Like his books all the time?
Yeah.
At various points in
I could not
past.
remember. Like, I think it was like 5 or 6 months ago when they did the backstory where Alfred was part of some weird night thing in England that he left. Do you guys remember what I'm talking
I
about?
don't remember that at all.
That's not real.
I don't.
Is
I,
that from the
It's
most
definitely-
current run?
If
Yeah,
that's
it's in
current run, then I
post-Rebirth.
haven't read it. I
It's in
stopped
Rebirth.
after Snyder, so I really
Yeah.
haven't read anything.
It might have been
What
a
a way to stop.
detective book, but it was actually interesting. It was like kind of a weird knight and squire thing that he was being set up to become like the new knight, and then
That's
left.
dumb.
Interesting.
That's
Hmm.
yeah.
But to go back to Doom Patrol for a minute, it's interesting to me that they're announcing this show coming out when they just canceled the Doom Patrol comic that was actually pretty good from what I read of it.
I have not read that.
Sounds like
It's-
Warner Brothers really likes taking toys from other parts of their own fucking people and giving them to other people.
Yeah,
like,
but they usually leave the comics alone, though.
generally,
Yeah.
like, and say what you will about
These are my
Gerard
toys
Way's.
now. You can't use them.
Say what you will about Gerard Way's music, but like he knows
He's
how to
amazing.
write a hell of a comic book.
I
And-
think Gerard Way is a hell of an artist all around, so that doesn't surprise me.
Like
Yeah.
his Doom Patrol was so good, and it had just enough shades of Morrison in it, but it was approachable.
Didn't that lead into Milk Wars?
Yeah, I thought it did. I didn't read that far into it. I only read like the first 2 trades, but yeah, it was supposed to lead
Like,
into Milk
fuck.
Wars.
I can't believe there's a Doom Patrol thing coming out, and I'm not just like sentient hype.
Yeah, I'm worried. I'm worried. Like
I hope it's
if-
good. I really do.
I
'cause,
don't
like,
know.
I
mean,
wish I lived in a fucking universe where like DC and Warner Bros. Would announce something like this and like everyone lost their minds, but instead they've instilled so much bad will in us that they announce something like this that should just knock us on our asses. And it's met with a bunch of people going like, like why should I trust you at this point?
Well, I trust Berlanti at this point with just about anything. Like I stopped watching Riverdale because they catfished me with Sabrina. But the show was good. The show is very good for what it is. So, and I'm gonna watch all of Sabrina when it comes out, like in one day probably. Just like, yeah, I'll probably stay up all night and watch it. That's gonna happen. So, like, I trust Berlanti at this point, but at the same time, I'm like, I need to see a trailer. I
Yeah.
need to see what this is gonna look like, because even
I
the,
need
like,
to know
the photos
who's
we've
on
seen
the
from
team.
Titans, yeah, just like,
Well, it's just for me, the only real experience I have with Doom Patrol is the Morrison run, which is amazing, but it's too weird for mainstream America and the people who enjoy watching most of the CW shows to digest. Like there's no way you could easily translate that to the screen. And
I mean, yeah.
Even in a post Legion world.
yes, I don't think anybody is talented enough to translate it that well. Like, have you ever read it before, Lou?
Yeah, a long time ago.
Like,
but I love Morrison. Like, I love
I do
Morrison's
too.
work.
This
So.
is kind of how I feel about one of the reasons why I picked From Hell for an upcoming thing we're doing is because that movie exists, and I think that movie is proof that you probably can't do From Hell on the screen.
No, you can't.
Same producers leave Extraordinary Gentlemen, I just should point out.
I'm not surprised.
Me. Are you kidding me?
No, it's the same fucking dude. So yeah.
That's because they made a deal with one of the demons that owns part of Alan Moore's soul, so they had to make that.
They had to make him suffer a little bit. They made me suffer too because I knew I was aware of the movie well before I read the book, and I read the book and I was like, this is one of the most incredible things I've ever read. That's the movie. I'm like, oh, it's a whodunit. You guys missed the point entirely. Thank you.
Yeah. To give you an idea of how weird some of the Morrison Doom Patrol gets, there's a point where Monsieur Mala, who is a sentient ape who's wearing a beret and a tank top and carries around an M16 or some sort of large automated weapon.
His beloved is a brain in a jar.
Yes, and they
Connor,
realize
you'll be getting to him soon on Young Justice.
They don't realize they're in love with each other until they're about to die. Yeah.
They just did they were the villains in the run that just ended for Titans, not Teen Titans, the older ones.
Interesting.
Nightwing and Tempest and Roy. Yeah.
That's the other thing with that issue is most of the conversation takes place between is it Cliff Steele is who Robot Man was?
Yeah. Cliff Steele was he was a race car driver, right?
Yep. Yeah. I couldn't remember if that was his proper name or not, but his brain is in a jar because he's being transferred to a new body, and Monsieur Mala and the brain figure out that this is going on, and they're going to try and put the brain's body into this new body. So, yeah, there you go. So you want to try and translate that for the screen? Have at it.
Yeah,
and
go for it.
They constantly change Monsieur Mala's backstory because sometimes he's a gorilla that the brain elevated, and sometimes it's a person that put their brain in a gorilla, similar to Ultra Human. There's four four super gorillas in the DC universe.
Awesome.
God, I love DC is just fuck it, gorillas.
Well, the thing that's the best is that Grodd hates them all because they're not. Of
course he does.
Because they're not Gorilla City gorillas. They're
so he's Hitler.
Hey, so he's a racist gorilla.
They're not purebred gorillas.
He's a gorillaist.
We're also smart gorillas, Garad. Yeah, you're not a smart gorilla from my neck of the woods.
Oh no.
Posers.
Oh,
no.
They go up to Gorilla City. Hey, which way is Gorilla City? Garad pumps a shotgun. Back the way you came.
Get out of my jungle.
I think they actually cover that in. Is it Injustice? In one of them, they talk in the comics. They talk about it.
Maybe if it was Injustice 1, year 1 through 5, I don't remember big moments, specifics. I'm a little fuzzy.
I think it's one in the Injustice one. I never read Injustice 2.
Aren't you fortunate?
Yeah. Well, actually, I didn't read it because of you.
Yeah, I am.
I heard all of your shitty reviews, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna drop this book.
Oh man, it's probably only half of the bad shit I've talked about.
Pretty bad.
What was it? Tim Drake being reintroduced and then murdered immediately in the same page.
Oh, it's not as bad. He's OMAC right now. So.
No. Okay.
That's
Dick. Oh my God.
Well, he doesn't fall. He gets Damien kills him.
Damien
being a petulant child.
Yeah, Damien bonks him on the head with one of his batons, and then Nightwing trips over some debris and falls and snaps his neck. It's the most Three Stooges death I've ever seen in my life, and immediately.
The only part of it that's good is Bruce's line at the end, which is "Get away from my son."
Yeah.
And that's the only thing, but and Damien's just and then he's just annoying.
Oh, ultra fuck you, and goes inside the Superman.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
which they retconned entirely in the Injustice 2 game, and instead
Victor Zsasz.
They shortcut it right to Damien murdering Zsasz as an example of your method doesn't work and this is permanent slice.
Yeah, what did he do? What was it they did? He snapped his neck.
He slashes his neck with one of his little fucking Robin rings. His Batan ring.
Yeah, the way Dick Grayson died in Injustice is very similar to the way almost everybody died in the end of episodes of Kung Fu. It's that David Carradine never actually killed them; they just always fell on a rock or fell off a cliff. Or
Oh, you mean like $1 Million Baby?
God damn it.
Like the end of that sketch from Scary Movie, everybody's falling on an object and snapping their neck.
That's exactly what I think of. I don't even think of $1 Million Baby. I just think of that bad scary movie.
Oh, is that the one with Charlie Sheen?
Yes, it's like the fourth one.
Where
It's
he
after the
dies from falling off of a building with a
And lands on his boner.
giant boner, and you see liquid coming out.
Here's the thing. Those movies suck, but I loved Part 3, and I kind of like parts of Part 4.
I think Part 3 is the last one the Waynes had to do with, and then they sold it off.
It's so fucking funny because Part 3 is basically just like it's kind of like Airplane.
What? And Leslie Nielsen is in that one, right?
Leslie Nielsen's in that, and then rises a gag from Airplane. He opens the door, knocks Samara back into the well, and he's like, "I just want to know, we're all counting on you. Good luck." Closes the door.
Well, it's the same. One of the same directors, actually. I think.
Yeah.
One of those Zuckers, right?
Yeah, I think both the Zuckers. Scary Movie 3 actually does have some good bits. I don't know if this is a deleted scene or not, but the aliens pee out of their hands.
Oh,
No, that's not deleted. But they...
Which is
Turns out we're not so different after all. Leslie Nielsen pees out of his finger.
God damn it.
But for some reason, Anthony Anderson pumping the shotgun and stuff, and pumping the shovel in a shotgun cartridge flies at it for some reason makes me laugh every time.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Also, I just looked at the news story again. Doom Patrol is taking place after Teen Titans.
What
So,
the fuck?
Huh?
Yeah.
yeah, so.
Well, it makes sense if there's an episode introducing them.
And
Teen
yeah, I mean,
Titans.
and I have to keep reminding myself, it's Berlanti. It's Berlanti.
All this does is
Berlanti.
it makes me mad that we still have nothing with the Metal Men. I don't know why. I just want a Metal Men something.
I mean,
I
they
would
were
myself
great in.
Supergirl will be awful. Don't worry.
Well,
They were in
wasn't,
Gods and Monsters.
wasn't one of the Metal Men's big enemies Egg Foo?
I don't know. They've done so many weird things.
Comics, guys, comics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a giant Asian stereotype egg.
Yeah. The last time I remember them being in anything was the Batman Beyond comic book. They brought them into it, which was a good book until they tried to bring it into the DC actual universe, and then it got really, really goddamn dumb.
Hmm.
Yeah, I stayed away from that event because it just sounded too convoluted. Okay, are we good on Doom Patrol? I guess most of us are unsure. We need to see something. You know, we need to hear we need to hear directors and we need to hear writers. Team.
I want to see screenshots.
We need visuals
Yeah.
on all of these things, and
Like-
not out of context behind the scenes Titans photos that everybody got their panties in a wad over that they quickly forgot about.
Yeah, well, that's where the Titan images that got everybody pumped with the Hawk and Dove and Robin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember if it was Robin or Nightwing, but it was Robin, I think, right?
It's Robin.
It was Robin.
I'm talking about those behind.
Oh
the
yeah, the
scenes photos.
Starfire,
Yeah.
Raven, and Beast
Yeah.
Boy.
But yeah, like we need to hear like 3 directors who worked on Legion are working on Doom Patrol or something like
Or
that.
Yeah.
Noah Hawley
Yes.
himself is like.
No, that's not going to happen.
No.
but
No,
but
he's
people
working on a
who-
movie.
People
He's
who
got
worked on
brand
Hannibal,
loyalty.
or people who worked on Legion, or any show that in that
Well,
lineage.
can you imagine Noah Hawley's Doom Patrol?
It'd be so good.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for his Doom, which will probably never happen.
Never
Yeah.
gonna happen.
Yep. Okay. So for good on Doom Patrol, this is the first story of this week. Guillermo del Toro is getting a fucking anthology from Netflix.
And
Yes.
and canceled.
No, it's
Okay.
no. Guillermo has a Guillermo has
He's got
like a
Oscars.
really good history with Netflix.
And he also
Soul
has
Hunters is on its 3rd season, and I think it's going to a 4th, is my understanding.
In fact, I just like to make fun of the fact that whenever Del Toro announces something I'm super hyped for, it never fucking happens. I'm looking right at you, Mountains of Madness.
I think
Yeah.
that all changed now that with those Oscars, now he can kind of do whatever he wants, and that's what that
He-
power gives him.
he walks up and just like slaps a fucking Universal executive with an H.P. Lovecraft book and goes,
Oh, yeah.
"Mountains of Madness tomorrow."
Well, I don't even think it's that he can do whatever he wants now. I think it's more that now the people who are always championing him at various studios are going to be like, "You see, you motherfuckers, you see what you lost."
Yeah.
Like, there's
Yeah.
so many people who missed out on amazing things. From him.
I hope so.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Well,
speaking of
what-
Konami, can I just? I just want to see just someone make an animation of Del Toro going to Konami, and it's the Negan scene from Walking Dead,
God damn it.
but with his award.
Well,
I'd rather
I
see
mean,
him
that's
do
what
it
he
to Mike
did.
Mignola.
Yeah.
That's
that's
kinda
what really
I
pisses
kind of
me
rather
off.
him. I kind of rather him like walk up to the offices of Konami, and they're like, "Why are you here?" And he just opens his arms, and like behind him, all the creatures from fucking Pan's Labyrinth come in, and they start ripping executives apart.
Yes.
That'd be great. That'd be pretty cool.
Or he just opens his jacket and they're all just blinded. They're all just blinded by like this amazing light popping out of him, and it's just the
Yeah.
Oscar shines to a high gloss.
Or he
Yeah,
turns
I
into
get-
the creatures from Mimic, and then he just
Somewhere-
Yes.
Somewhere,
I get you guys
somewhere-
like your love of or you hate his with Konami hating on them, but like it just drives me crazy. Like that Mignola, and they just couldn't finish that Hellboy trilogy.
yeah.
Well, I
That
think,
pisses
I
me
think
off so.
Yeah.
I think that was around the time Mignola had these aspirations that he was going to be a fine artist.
Oh yeah,
and
when
that
he quit
Sure.
Mhm, and that
Oh,
crashed and
okay.
burned.
I have a comic discovery that I want to add to this when we're done. It's about an old comic character that I kind of have passing knowledge of that is now something completely different, and we all have to talk about it.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll get to that. But like on the Hellboy thing, we talked about this on here before. That was legendary. That's why that didn't happen.
I
Legendary
think it was-
wasn't gonna give him $200 million. Is the quote I heard. So-
I've heard on other podcasts of people that know Mignola in the situation that he also did not want him because Guillermo had so much creative control over it that it pissed Mignola off.
Sure.
That's not. That doesn't make sense to me because I know they're friends. Like that's my only problem with that statement. Is that like they're like best friends.
Because it was like the two people that were Perlman and Guillermo were pushing for it the whole time, and Mignola seemed to never push for it.
I mean, yeah, because he. So my understanding is that he really doesn't get any money for those movies, and so I get it. Like, if he wants to make a trilogy where he gets paid for those films, but like, yeah, like everything I've heard before suggests that he and Guillermo have like a respect for each other, and that they're very friendly with one another. So yeah, like, so the only reason that they didn't finish the trilogy is the legendary thing. That's my understanding of it. Is Thomas Tull said, "I'm not gonna lose $200 million on a Hellboy movie that nobody's gonna go see,"
And he was wrong.
Well, yeah, I don't
the
necessarily
second
agree with
movie-
that.
The second movie did not do nearly as well as the first one,
Yeah.
and
That's
unfortunately,
because it came out after Dark Knight.
That's
Yeah.
not why, Alan.
no.
I think it had to do with the time period it came out in. I think those movies would do much better today.
I totally agree with that, but like that movie didn't work because yes, the first movie had an audience, which I'm a part of, that really loved it, but that movie, I don't think it was going to work as a giant blockbuster for that big of a budget.
No.
And I
But
don't
also,
think,
it's like if he had done that movie, he would not have done Lady in the Water, and he would not have won his Oscars.
yeah, or well, Shape of Water, yes.
Shape of Water, whatever.
Yeah.
Wow, I mixed up completely.
Wow, yeah, you really botched that.
Yeah, that was really bad. Oh my
But yeah, like, but
I'm
here's the thing,
just-
like even now,
Answers
even
on the back of the cereal box.
yeah, I don't think Thomas Tull like saw the Oscar thing and he was like, "Damn it, I messed up." He's like, "Oh well, now I'm definitely gonna work with Guillermo again on something," but he's gonna be like, "It'll be $50 million. Do whatever you want with that $50 million, but that's as much as I'm gonna give you because I'm in the business of making money."
Yeah.
And it's just like it's a number crunching thing. And here's the thing: I give Thomas Tull credit. Actually, he's retired now, but I give him credit for the time that he was in the business because he always championed things that he loved whenever it was feasible. So, Hellboy 3, if he really thought it was feasible, it would have happened. And then the rights reverted back to Mignola, and Mignola is making money off of his property. I don't know where this Hellboy change started. I can't remember.
And to break it down even further, like Guillermo hasn't really been a financial success for most of the studios that he's done films for. He's had amazing critical success, which is it's great, and that can bring you so far. But the studios care about the amount of money you're bringing them at the end of the day.
That's why Christopher Nolan can do as much as he does.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly.
I think Guillermo's biggest financial success to this day is Blade 2.
Yeah.
Which
Also
makes sense.
Also with Ron Perlman.
Yeah. Ron Perlman is a good luck charm.
And it secretly has a really great soundtrack.
It really does. And
I haven't seen Blade 2 in a long time.
What's his name from Walking Dead, isn't it?
I love that.
Daryl?
Norman Reedus?
He hasn't aged a day.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he is. Shit, I
He's
forgot
in
about
that
that.
movie. He looks identical. Like there are more bags under his eyes now, but otherwise
he looks the same as he did in Boondock Saints, which came out in like 2001.
Mm-hmm.
Because him and Kojima have found the Fountain of Youth, and that's why they're making Death Stranding.
Yeah. This is something that we know.
And Mads Mikkelsen was like, "You found the Fountain of Youth? Bring me on."
Mads Mikkelsen was actually a conquistador, and he's been drinking from it for years.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd be okay with it. I'd be like, "Oh, you did? That's good for you."
Mm-hmm. But yeah, like I don't know, everything about this anthology, Netflix, Guillermo, I'm in. And
here's the thing: I'm happy for this because like I'm gonna get me some Lovecraft in one of these episodes.
Oh yeah,
it's gonna happen.
Yeah,
totally, 100%.
And that is literally how you can sell me in a horror movie now. It's like, I don't know, what's it like? It's love creation. Gimme.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm in.
I watched the what was it? The Void. That movie has no fucking story. It's just lots of interesting fucking special effects and like weird love creation references. And you're like, and I'm just like, I like this. It doesn't make any sense, but I like this.
It's a lot like Carpenter Down in a lot of ways. It doesn't hold together as a movie at all, but it's a great special effects reel, and I hope the people that worked on that movie get like other jobs.
Yeah, and I want like the people. The visuals are very imaginative, but the glue holding it all together just is not substantial. But looking at it, you go, "This is some really cool shit."
It's almost like a proof of concept reel that just got turned into a whole movie.
It had like it was lots of Lovecraft, but then like there were shades of Hellraiser on top of it, where I was like, I really appreciate this.
It's also very the thing, but it's the movie. It's really like ripping off, and I understand why, because most people haven't seen this movie. It is like shot for shot in some places Prince of Darkness.
Shit!
Yeah, it is.
It's like, oh wow, they're like most people haven't seen Prince of Darkness, so let's just remake parts of it.
And their visual concept of the Void is very much like the Hell Dimension from Hellraiser.
I've got something to tell you. You're not gonna like it.
You're not gonna like it. Turns into roaches. The only thing they didn't tape was the weird time travel element, which, if you haven't seen Prince of Darkness, go watch Prince of Darkness, because the whole Apocalypse trilogy, I feel like The Thing and Mouth of Madness are more watched.
In the Mouth of Madness.
Yeah, I feel like Mouth of Madness is watched more. I don't know why.
I love that movie. It's great.
Sam Neill maybe is the reason for it. I don't know, but most people haven't seen Prince of Darkness, I feel like.
Well, and one of the other cool things with Prince of Darkness is DJ Shadow actually sampled the We Are Transmitting from the year 1-9, and like he used that as an interlude between like every 4 songs on his debut album, Introducing, and it's used so well, and it's so awesome.
Oh, awesome.
Yes, yeah, everybody should go listen to DJ Shadow's Introducing album.
But yeah, this is how many episodes is this? Did they say?
I mean, since it says 10 past midnight, I'm just guessing 10. Sounds right.
That makes sense.
I'm not actually seeing anything. I'm not seeing any sort of confirmation on this.
However long it is, I hope it gets multiple seasons.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm sure it will. Because like,
And I hope
even
it
if
doesn't.
it's-
I hope it doesn't end up like Masters of Horror, which its legacy is like, hey, have you ever seen that one that got banned from television?
I think Netflix is in the anthology business at this point. Like,
I was thinking that too.
because they're doing another season of Black Mirror, which is a show that was DOA before they came along, as far as I knew. And I think that like their anticipation for this is like, if it does half as well as Black Mirror, then we'll make another season. And Black Mirror is a very high bar to hit, but it has a strong verbal or vocal audience, and if this show can have that as well, I think Netflix will support it as long as it does well for them. But we don't know how they measure that still, which causes frustration.
Well, if they just go, I don't want to say and emulate Black Mirror, but I mean, if they take the same idea but they do actual horror instead of like, hey, this could potentially happen in the next 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years, like they would have a guaranteed, at least in my mind, hit on their hands.
Yeah.
Like as long as they had strong enough writing for it.
Yeah.
And they're willing to give them the budget they need.
Yeah, because if Black Mirror is their Twilight Zone, this could be their Tales from the Crypt or
Tales from the Dark Side.
Yeah. Well, because Tales from the Crypt is already coming back, I guess. I don't remember where it's coming back. But yeah, like, or any of those anthology things, you know. This could be their creep show.
Tales from the Crypt died. That project never got off the ground.
Wow.
Oh, really? The with fucking M. Night?
Yeah, that's it's dead.
Oh, okay.
That's a bummer.
Last I heard, it was dead anyway.
Well, darn. Because I was actually really excited, because I was like, they announced it like a month after Split, so...
Yeah, I fucking love Tales from the Crypt, so... I have like I said, I have a additional story I would like to add, that, Eric, you may be aware of this, but I'm not sure if you are. Because I discovered this whilst watching Game Grumps. Apparently, Eric Larson, the creator of Savage Dragon, decided last year that Savage Dragon was going to be an 18 and up, more or less hardcore pornography series.
I had heard something in passing about that, but I didn't think it actually happens.
A Saturday morning cartoon
That's
show,
what I was going to say. I remember watching that cartoon.
And it features literal money shots now.
Wow.
Wow.
I did not know that.
What?
I guess to get the press.
I'm almost mad that Hunter left right now, because he would have been dying in the story.
So I know very little about Savage Dragon, but that's to do with the guild coming out of his head, right?
Yeah, he has that big fin coming out of his head.
And he has like no memory of his backstory or something.
Yeah, he was. I'd gone down a dark Wikipedia tube the one day just reading about Savage Dragon, because I was like, oh well, what was this comic fully about? He was like an alien overlord of some sort that in his transfer to Earth, something went terribly wrong and he lost his memory, so he became a cop in Chicago.
It's Dragon Ball? Are you fucking kidding me?
Something along those lines, yeah. I mean, I'm sure there was a little bit more nuance to it than that.
I forgot. I was trying to remember. I'm like, was this Image Comics or was this something else?
Yes, it was.
Image.
Yeah.
Because I remember they did like weird crossovers. Because didn't he cross over with like Wanted and something else really dumb?
He crossed over. I used to have it. I don't have it anymore. He crossed over the Ninja Turtles before the Ninja Turtles had like colored bandanas, like before you could really identify them.
He was like the king of crossover, if I remember correctly. Like, he was in a ton of stuff.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in the comics, the Larson and Eastman ones, they never had colored things, like or colored bandanas. Like that was an invention. Weapons. Yeah, that was only an invention for the cartoon. So any comic series that had them with colored bandanas was an offshoot of the cartoon.
Well, I'm not saying it happened before, but it was it was definitely of the original Turtles look, and they even make jokes about the like Savage Dragon can't tell them apart, and he's like, did you guys ever think about wearing individual colors or putting big initials in your belt? Because I can't tell which one of them.
And then he had a money shot.
and then he jacked off in front of him.
Savage Dragon also did it in the comics. They did a team up with Hellboy.
Yeah, I saw he also had teamed up with Spawn.
Going Fritz the Cat with the adaptation, I guess, which is an interesting choice. For those who don't know what I'm referring to.
Yeah, Ralph Bakshi. Yeah, this was this. I don't know how many years ago this was, but there was a huge like company-wide crossover of Image of all of their books, and basically it was them trying to fight Spawn. Like Al had gone full evil, and they were all trying to fight him. Like he was the unknown enemy for the longest time, and finally, whatever many issues in, he ended up being the big reveal. But there was also a human version of Al Simmons. So yeah, that's what I know about that.
Yeah, I think I
Kind of
remember.
awesome, actually. They turned Spawn into a final boss.
Yeah,
Well, 'cause
pretty much.
He's kind of a god in those comics once you get down
Yeah.
later on. Because
Yeah, well,
I remember it was like Savage Dragon, Wanted. What were the other big Image books that would have crossed over at that time?
Well, Wanted was a Top Cow book, if I remember correctly.
Wanted
Actually.
with Top Cow? Okay, yeah, because
Yeah.
that would have been like Witchblade and what was the
Yeah.
other one that turned into a video game?
Darkness.
Yeah, the
Darkness.
Oh, the
Yeah.
darkness is so cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but Paul Jenkins wrote it, or he wrote a lot of it.
Okay.
I don't know who that is.
He's a bad writer.
Oh,
What
yeah,
bearing does
okay.
it have?
Like,
So you
Oh.
had
like
Alan.
I'm specifically referring to the fucking video game. Like, I don't give a shit.
yeah.
He wrote Century
Uh,
Fallen Sun.
Okay, so it was Wildstorm was probably the other big one I was thinking of in
Yeah.
Youngblood. Oh
Yep.
man, Rob Liefeld.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I clicked on the IMDb
Oh, Rob,
for
I'm
Image.
thinking of Pouches Liefeld.
Yes. So this was like so the crossover in like Youngblood, Shadowhawk, Spawn, Wildcats.
Yeah, it was something crazy.
Oh, and the Max. Oh my God, it's so
Mhm.
90s.
Yeah.
Here's
Yeah.
the thing.
The fact they
times
crossed
have
over
changed.
with fucking Youngblood should say all it needs to say.
Time has changed for everyone but Rob Liefeld.
Well, yeah. Well, Youngblood was
Yeah, but
basically.
you know what? I'm glad that
Xbox.
he hasn't changed because he is a constant source of entertainment on social media.
I'm
Yes.
glad that he gets the joke and that he's like leaning into it instead of
Yep.
like being a douche about it.
Oh, he's like a super nice guy, apparently.
Yeah.
Like,
But
Mhm.
there's like he could have like really taken it the wrong way,
Right.
and oh my God, I just clicked Youngblood on Wikipedia.
Don't. It leads
How
to
did
bad.
let
How
let
did
me
he
tell you
not
about.
get sued by himself?
Let me tell you about this
ripping off-
this group called Bloodstrike.
Ugh.
My favorite terrible Image team.
No, what
Oh,
was
God.
the character? What was his fake Captain America?
Oh shit.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. And,
Yeah,
like,
because he had a story for Captain America, and they're like, "Yeah, we're kicking you off this book because you can't draw." And then he created that like a faux Captain America. for
But that
Image.
wasn't even on Image Comics. That was on
Oh.
a comic line that he'd created for himself, or at least he'd created for other artists who wanted to create stuff, and it tanked terribly.
So
I
it
can't
was,
remember.
It was Image.
Well, I mean,
but
have
not
you
Image.
have you seen his Image version of Wolverine? It's hysterical. I put it in the group a couple weeks ago. It's fucking Deadlock from Bloodstrike. It's shameful.
Look at any of his early X-Force comics, and everyone that's supposed to be a small character that's violent is Wolverine. Have the same hairstyle that he would draw him in, and same look. Like, it's just he didn't evolve, but he was also only like 18 or 19 when he really got famous.
A lot of
So
these dudes were really fucking super young. Like, I think Eastman and Laird were babies basically when like they self-published Ninja Turtles number
Yeah.
1.
They were doing it on, I think, Eastman's mom's kitchen table.
and it was supposed to be a joke because it was supposed to be a play on Daredevil.
Yeah, because they're drawn.
I think it's like the store they sold it, like they sent their first shipment to, like sold out like within a very short amount of time. They had to like make more all of a sudden.
Yep. Yeah, craziness.
Anyway, that's my discovery about Savage Dragon. I thought everybody found that very amusing.
Yeah. We have
Oh,
one
yeah,
last story.
also,
Go ahead.
Before we get to that this is also them moving to having moved to Canada because of Trump.
Wait,
Wait,
So
Okay.
yeah,
who moved to Canada?
yeah, the character moved to Canada. Him and his wife.
Oh,
Oh, Savage Dragon.
Yeah, not Eric Larson. He can go to hell.
That's an interesting choice.
Well,
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyways.
Anyway, what's the last story?
Interesting. Okay, so for a while, Amazon's been working on like a Lord of the Rings series.
they paid somebody like $3 billion for it.
Yeah, and they, I don't know if it was a rumor or if it was just like or an actual official announcement. I didn't actually get a chance to look into it, but they've released that if they do it, it will be about a young Aragorn.
Fuck you.
No,
Fuck
okay,
you.
It's
so
not a bad idea.
Eric, do you know what do you know
I'm
about
on
young
board with this.
Aragorn? Do you know the thing that I know about him that makes that interesting?
I read the Lord of the Rings, all of the books, years and years, like when I was like 13. So my memory is slim to
Okay.
none. But
He's like part of a ranger group.
So no, I'm just gonna say one word. When I say duodane, who knows what I mean when I say that?
I don't.
Duodane. I know that word,
So
but
something that they've left out of the movies completely, and it's in the books, I guess, and it's a detail about Aragorn, is that Aragorn comes from a race of men who live to be like 200.
Yeah. That's
Well,
how
no,
they
they-
actually have a relationship with the elf.
Yes.
in the extended cut of Return of the King, they talk about that when
Yeah.
that woman brings him the bad soup, and she says something about his age, and he's just like no, and he's like 80 if I remember.
Yeah, he's 80. So doing a young Aragorn isn't the worst idea, actually, because
It's like doing a young Wolverine. You have a lot of fucking time to play with.
yeah, he's temporarily he can be. You can do a story before even the setting of The Hobbit, if you
I feel
want.
like you have to do one before the Hobbit.
Or you can do in between. You can kind of just do Shadow of War in a weird way. Not exactly Shadow of War, but something very
You
similar.
can just take it from after his dad dies,
Mhm.
like from there, basically from that moment.
Yeah, and again, like he's 80, so you have this gigantic time period to play around with, and you can end the show before the events of Lord of the Rings even happen, which is the problem that any prequel like this has, which is, well, the ending is the beginning of Lord of the Rings, the ending is the beginning of Alien, the ending is the beginning of The Thing.
See, my
The
thought would
the
be,
ending.
Wayne put on the Batman suit.
I would
The
love it
ending
if-
is after 2 seasons don't do that well, and Amazon cancels it.
well, I would love it if they did like a Conan where it's just like him sitting on the throne or whatever, and he's retelling his life.
Yeah, but that's a tale for another day.
That would
Yeah.
be interesting.
An
I don't know
old man where
So Amazon
thought-
is... go ahead.
I thought it was just gonna be Conan just sitting on the throne, just doing nothing. Just a waste of time. Wasted like 100 hours.
Maybe Amazon. So here's the thing: Amazon and Netflix are both. They are in the middle of a dick measuring contest because they both want to have the next Game of Thrones. So instead
they
of
also see Marvel and DC making
Yeah.
their own streaming services as well.
yeah, and they're like, so what's the next Game of Thrones? Oh, let's just do Game of Thrones literally. let's just get any fantasy project that we can and hope that it becomes the next Game of Thrones.
Here's the thing: if someone's gonna try to make the next Game of Thrones, I don't want them to take something like Lord of the Rings and do, like, as much as I want a young Aragorn, I like the idea, but take something I'm not aware of. Take something we're all consciously not aware of,
Yeah.
and make it the next Game of Thrones.
Like, the actual next Game of Thrones will be something completely different. In the same way that when Breaking Bad ended, nobody thought that the next thing would be a giant fantasy show. And when Lost ended, nobody thought the next big thing would be a show about a guy who deals meth, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, and if you're gonna stick with the fantasy setting, like if you want to have your own Game of Thrones, like, and if you're gonna adapt from something, fucking do Dragon Age.
Well, I mean,
that would
Netflix
be
is doing
great.
The
Something
Witcher,
like that.
which
Or The
is
Witcher,
Oh
yeah.
God, yes, that's what I
Yeah.
forgot. Okay, here's the thing: The Witcher is the next best thing. If you're going to do the next Game of Thrones, The Witcher is the prime candidate because The Witcher is super high concept and really mature.
yeah.
Crazy idea, and I mean, I want to see his version of Dune. I can't remember how to pronounce the director's name. The guy who no, his is long gone. The guy who directed Sicario and Arrival.
Oh,
and
Villeneuve.
yeah,
Villeneuve.
thank you. Yeah, he's the one who's slated to direct Dune.
Yes.
My big thing is that is a very, I don't know, it's too epic a story to be able to tell in a 2-hour movie. I think it is ripe to be the next big TV series because there 7 books that Frank Herbert wrote, which are the only ones worth reading. And that's how many years worth of television series that you could do. And it's a continuing story too. It's not like it just ends and then it's like 20 years later. Like it's, all right, Paul Atreides had kids after he became a god, and his kids had all these abilities, and it's the story of them for the next 2 books, and then after that, and after that, and after that. It's not something that would have to end when Paul Atreides' story ends.
That's kind of why I like Dragon Age, because Dragon Age they imply there's lots of different cycles of this world, and that there's lots of built-in history. And your main character is never someone who's like, you don't follow that character's story, because by and large the main character of the first game dies.
I guess depending on how you play, yeah. But I think in the newest one, they even in Inquisition, they kind of imply that he's just kind of off.
Yeah, he's just kind of gone.
But there's a ton of backstory, because there's like the entire thing of the blight that just happens.
Like the blight, every once in a while there's a blight of fucking demons who show up from underground and just start wrecking things. Yeah. So they have this built-in military force that conscripts people to fight them, and you have to be
no one can turn them down.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, if the Grey Warden show up and say you're a Grey Warden, you can't say no. You're not allowed to.
And you don't even. You just have to drink the thing, and 90% of the people die.
And you go through some weird fucking ritual, and most of the time it just kills you.
I think only until the recent game they really explained the origin of the blight. I think they just explained it. Well, just as in that game came out 3 years ago, but
there's also the weird tensions between Templars and mages, because you can't practice magic unless you are a Templar, unless you are sanctioned by the government, basically.
Well, there's three or four governments, because you have the Templars and mages are in Ferelden.
Yeah.
And then if the mages go too crazy, they get consumed by demons, and then Templars use basically magic drugs to control them. Yep. But then there's the Venatori, which is another country, and it's a country ruled by mages, and there's slavery.
God damn it, Anders.
And then you have apostates who are basically rogue mages.
And then you have what we barely touched on in the games, which is the Qunari, which is this weird
big
religion.
Giant elk-horned fucking hulking masses who are just bred for fucking war.
And they're okay. Yeah. Well, what about Sten?
Yeah, and they're a total theocracy that's everything is super arranged, and it's almost Islamic kind of in a way.
And
the
then
way they talk about it.
There's all the stuff with the elves being seen as second-class citizens, if not third-class citizens.
Well, and there's two kinds of elves too. There's elves that live in cities who are looked upon as basically, like you said, second-class citizens. And then there's the the Dalish elves. They live in the woods.
Yeah. And they're kind of trying to hold on to the past.
Yeah, they're the most elf you can get.
And then Inquisition DLC and Inquisition reveals a ton of stuff about the elves, because basically elves.
No spoilers.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's the deep roads where the dwarves used to live, because the deep roads is where they discovered the Darkspawn, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, that's where they live.
And that's also where Grey Wardens go to die.
Yep. Yes. Anyways, this has been a fascinating episode of VGH. But okay, so anyways, I don't know. I'm young Aragorn. I'm mixed on that, I guess. And here's the thing: the whole 2 seasons thing. Again, this is a dick measuring contest, and Amazon, I don't know if they'll back down to Netflix on this.
Well, the thing is, and HBO is still doing 3 Game of Thrones spinoffs or whatever, 50.
Yeah, I think they're choosing one out of a lot.
There's only one that matters, and that is young King Robert as he engages in a campaign against Rhaegar.
I would actually see that. None of us need to see that. We all want
I do. I want to see it. I want to see Robert smash him with a fucking hammer.
Okay,
I would rather see.
You say that, but do you really want to see it?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, but okay. There were people for years who were saying that they wanted to see Anakin burned on Mustafar, but did they really want to see that?
Okay, look, that's George Lucas had since lost his creative anything.
I know,
okay?
but you get what I'm saying. You say you want to see that, but I do fall in with the I want some mystery there kind of thing. I kind of like the idea that they were probably lying, and I don't necessarily want to see what actually happened.
I'm guessing we might actually even see it in this show.
Yeah, also I think we're gonna have a lot of flashbacks next season.
Yeah. I would rather see the Valyria, kind of the Targaryens leaving Valyria and invading Westeros and taking over on like an army of dragons.
As long as there's not like a time traveler from the future who comes back to save them from themselves.
Way to fuck up, Bran.
And I guess should give Amazon a little bit more credit because they were able to take a Philip K. Dick story and turn it into a full season of a TV show with Man in the High Castle. So
right.
I've only watched 2 Amazon shows. I watched The Tick, which I liked, and then I watched with my wife The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, and that was really, really good.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Remember when they put out the Zombieland TV series?
No, we don't speak of that. We don't speak of this, Alan.
How dare you bring that up in my presence? I shun you.
The only Amazon show I've ever seen is Bosch on Amazon.
The only Amazon show I've ever seen is None because I've never had an Amazon subscription.
I mean, yeah.
There are ways to see things.
Yeah, exactly.
Of course there are.
But no, like Amazon doing this makes
Connor
sense to
just
me.
started looking elsewhere.
But I
started looking years ago. I know where to go.
Yeah, the pilot for Jean-Claude Van Johnson was good, so I don't know. We'll see.
I forgot is that still on Amazon? Because I might watch that tomorrow.
The
because
first season is there, and that's all you get. So keep your expectations low by the time you get to the end, because they did cancel it apparently, very soon after it came out.
They didn't have enough cocaine on set.
Apparently not. And there was too many splits, which is, I mean,
there's no such thing. That is a lie.
I mean, it was recorded somewhere. There were too many splits, so I don't know what to tell you.
I like to believe that Jean-Claude just killed too many extras and stuntmen.
Maybe that's a possibility. He got too excited filming the show. And for those who don't know the basic idea of Jean-Claude Van Johnson, they explain all of his movies as covers for espionage missions that he was on. Which is why he was in Eastern Bloc countries.
They took the idea. Basically, the idea of this show is the bullshit that Steven Seagal has been saying for the last 4 decades.
Yes, kind of.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
That is the most hilarious thing ever. That they just stole
really
Steven Seagal's bullshit to make a show for Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yeah, kind of.
I kind of love that the entire planet has basically come together and be like, Steven Seagal is full of absolute shit.
Why do you think he moved to Russia?
That is not true. If you go to Brazil, he is like a master, and a lot of the Brazilian UFC fighters love him, and he walks out with them.
Yeah, but Brazil also loves Mr. Big still, so you got to kind of question.
I think like Kevin Hart and Jean LaBelle both have stories about Steven Seagal approaching people on set and being like, "Put me in your greatest chokehold," and then he gets choked the fuck out and pisses himself.
Oh, my favorite story I've ever heard was John Leguizamo was on the Tonight Show talking about how Steven Seagal was trying to force them to rewrite not Air Force One, was it? The one with Kurt Russell where they're on an airplane and Steven Seagal dies in the first 10 minutes.
Oh, I don't remember. I don't remember.
And he's like, oh man, I can't remember. It's the Halle Berry's in it. It's really good. But he literally is like, yeah, what if I just hold the 2 planes together and don't just get sucked out?
Sure.
God, man, that guy can just go fuck himself.
I think Kevin Hart basically says he walks to the show and was like, "Hey, put me in your best chokehold," and the guy was like, "I'm not gonna do that," and he's like, "No, do it." And I guess he this dude obviously just grabs Steven Seagal and just chokes him unconscious. And then Kevin Hart notices dude pissed himself right there, got up, regained consciousness, was like, "Good job," and walked right to the bathroom.
Those are my favorite videos online of people who think that they're kung fu they'll just touch your chi and then they fight someone that's a wrestler.
Man. Some of those are fucking hard to watch though, because that one dude in China was like, "Oh, I'm a master of fucking Kai Blast and whatever the fuck," and a Chinese mixed martial artist got into a ring with him and beat him bloody, and you can see he's like, "I don't like the fact that I'm doing this, I'm not happy," and the Chinese public was like, "How dare you beat on this master of the Kai Wave?" Like,
was that the guy who was like a Wing Chun master? And
Yes.
Yeah, I saw that. That made me very sad.
yeah, it's because like this mixed martial arts first, like, you fucking challenged me to a fight, and I'm fighting him, and now he's like, look at this, like I'm beating up an old man, like.
Yeah.
Didn't Steven Seagal also have like a dog bounty hunter-esque like show?
Yes,
Yes,
he did.
because
That
he was a deputy in Louisiana.
Yeah, something like that.
I know way too
Why
much.
can't
about
we
Steven
just
Seagal.
why did Swayze have to die and he gets to live?
Swayze, why did Swayze have to die? That's a very Alan thing to say.
Where are we going?
That's the title of the
I know.
episode.
I just want to point one thing out. I thought Bloodsport and Kickboxer were the same movie, but I'm reading the plots of these two films.
That's because they basically are.
God, how dare you? Bloodsport is like one of the greatest movies of all time.
Bloodsport is Mortal Kombat without any of the supernatural elements at all.
Bloodsport is also based on 110% bullshit. And the real guy
Frank,
went on
you
to
saying-
murder somebody.
You're saying Frank Dukes is not like was not a member of the CIA that was traveling around the world fighting people?
and did not go into the woods one day and knock out 300 people in a single day. And came out
I think that's actually two separate people because that's what the story that like Rogan's friend Eddie Bravo says, right?
Oh, okay. I think yeah.
I think those are two
it's
separate
based
people.
on two separate high-profile
Bullshit artists.
Yeah.
But I did just share a picture of Steven Seagal walking out with like one of the Hall of Fame UFC fighters, Anderson Silva.
Well, to go back to my comment about how Brazil loves Mr. Big, the reason why I said that is on one of Henry Rollins' older spoken word albums, he had talked about when he was on tour with Rollins' band, and they were playing, I think, in Rio de Janeiro, and they'd gone out, and they're like, "Oh yeah, you guys are the opening band." They're like, "Well, for who?" They're like, "Oh, for Mr. Big," and they're like, "What? Okay." So they go out, and they Henry's talking about how they're playing as hard as they can and they're trying to be as tough and mean and rocking as they possibly can, for lack of a better term. And the audience gives him the perfunctory, like, yeah, thank you. Then Mr. Big comes on, and he said, no. He said, like, the crowd sounded like it was the Rapture, how loud they were screaming for Mr. Big when they were playing. Like, that's why I'm like, really? Okay. And also, if I remember correctly, Brazil was one of the sole reasons that the Sega Genesis held out for so long.
What a weird piece of trivia.
If Hunter was here, he would probably just add in more weird shit.
Yeah, Brazil is a weird country.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think we can wrap.
Yeah, I think so.
I think we're good.
I hope you guys all look at that awesome photo of Rob Liefeld's fake Captain America.
I just
It's
looked at
real
it.
bad.
I just saw that.
It is very egregious. Like,
Mm-hmm. Well, the color scheme is different, so it's...
No, that's,
it's the same.
He doesn't
but
have the
it's-
wings.
Exactly.
he doesn't have the
looks
wings and he
I'm
doesn't have the
sorry, hang on.
scales. That's it.
It looks like Player 2 Captain America. Like,
Yeah,
it's
he has
really
a shield. He still has a shield.
Well, and he doesn't need the wings because he's got an eagle on his forehead that leads his wings are leading into the side of the
which,
head.
admittedly, I think is actually kind of a cooler look.
It is.
It kind of
He has a
is.
star on his chest and he has a shield. And he has the red gloves. It is
Like,
I'm
Yeah,
saying
it's the
that
pixie
outfit,
boots.
The outfit he has on in that picture is basically MCU Captain America.
yeah. Like I feel like even the Incredibles, if they were doing like their Cap analog would be more inventively drawn and created and designed than this character that I'm seeing right now.
Real quick before we wrap, something real depressing I did today. I went out to my local Toys R Us and was looking around to see if there were any amazing deals, which
So
there
you went
weren't
into an
because-
empty building and
pretty much. But I went back to look at the action figures and whatnot, just because, Toys R Us, might as well go over there. And the one aisle that was completely full of stuff was all the Incredibles 2 merchandise. Because they had to order all that stuff so far ahead of time.
Oh my god, I just thought about that. The movie's not even close to being out yet, is it?
It's not even out yet. Yeah, I don't think it's out until later in the summer. So yeah, that was horrible to see.
Yeah. I've been trying to, like, I go to mine down here, and every time I go, there's actually more stuff, because I think the one that's by me is, like, a big one in, like, this area, the DC, like...
Can you imagine, like, a month or two ago, like, when this was actually happening, and, like, walking to Toys R Us and going, like, oh, look at all these Infinity War... Oh, that's a spoiler. That's a spoiler. There's a spoiler. Like,
Yeah.
Because I know the last time I went, they had, like, 50 of, like, the really good, like, $200 WWE belts, but they were, like, 10% off.
Yeah, that's
fucking offensive.
Yeah,
well,
and
it's
I
what
want
it
them
is.
to be more. I want them to buy for $20.
What it is that outside companies come in, and what they do is they'll take 10% off of the maximum price you can charge, if not charge more for something, and then take 10 or 20% off. That's what happened with Borders when they closed down too.
And not to get into a big spiel about Toys R Us, because that's an episode in itself, but like Toys R Us's demise, the result of like corporate monsters who came and just dismantled that company for profit, more or less.
Yep.
Like, and that's basically it. Like a giant of everybody's life as a kid is just gone because a bunch of evil ass businessmen were like, we can destroy this company and totally make bank off of it.
Well, yeah, they wanted to.
There's a special piece. There's a special help for those people.
Yeah, there was the company that wanted, or the multiple businessmen, they wanted to dismantle it and rebrand it as FAO Schwartz.
Oh my god.
And that failed miserably too. Anyways, let's wrap this up.
Yep.
Yeah.
So hey everybody, I'm Connor McGraw. We are for realsies, actually recording the episode for Frankenstein's Army tomorrow.
No, you're
I
not.
swear.
Meteor is gonna hit.
Unless some other act of God prevents this from happening, we're doing it tomorrow. And then we're hoping to actually record tomorrow and Thursday and get 2 episodes in the can. That way we catch up. I don't know what the next movie is. It's Sean's pick, and Sean always goes for weird shit, so I don't know what to expect out of him.
Yeah, I want to say like 90% of the movies you've done, I've never heard of.
Yep, that's the point.
Pretty crazy picks. I'm still trying to find that werewolf one or whatever.
The Runestone?
Yeah, because you guys sold me on that.
The Runestone's really good.
AA Haro, all the places.
Actually, real quick, Arlen, I can probably send you the fucking movie because I have it. Right?
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, here's the thing, Joe. Sometimes Joe sends us a rip that he has at the VHS or something like that because there's just no other way to get it.
Right.
Should we be talking about this while we're doing
It's
this?
fine.
It's fine.
Somebody owns it.
Nobody. Yeah. Here's the thing. If I can't buy it on streaming or on a DVD officially,
if it's completely and utterly unavailable on most platforms, like, then you've given me no other choice.
Right.
Like,
And do you think the people that actually own the rights to that movie want people to know that they own the rights to that movie?
Alan, if someone comes to my door next week and tells me I'm in trouble for getting a rip of the Runestone from Joe Lascola, I will give you every single one of my belongings, okay?
That was how I saw a ton of movies when I was younger, because I would go to Exhumed Film Fests in New Jersey, and there would be people selling like ripped copies of obscure horror movies.
Oh
shit!
Yeah,
that's how I used to watch Dragon Ball. Like I would go to like a flea market, and they would have like VHS copies.
Yeah, how do you think people became aware of other wrestling companies in the 90s? It's called tape trading. It's been going on for decades.
That's how like ECW existed.
Yeah. Anyways,
AA Haro and all the places, spacecolumbo.tumblr.com, Space Columbo on Instagram is something that I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be doing just like a lot of weird photoshops for fun. I do them for the show, but I'm just going to start like doing other weird shit with it too. So go do that. Go check that out. Yeah.
I'm Eric Fedorchuk. You can find me at Eric_Fedor on Instagram. Dogs, cats, food, comics, stuff like that. The other thing is I was really curious. When you hug Pennywise, does his flesh feel like flesh? Or does it feel like a clown suit?
Toro every week. Okay, now somebody else do their plugs.
I finally got it in.
Not fair.
Is that the next line?
To plug stuff.
All right. Alan or Lou, one of you, something.
Yeah, follow that.
Okay. Well, you can check out me and Alan on the Smallville Chronicles. I think we're trying to do every Thursday or Friday. And I know
Oh,
you
we
said
are now?
I thought that's what you wanted to do.
I had no idea.
That's what you told me.
This is the most Alan thing I've ever heard. Right?
Okay.
Yeah, this is a very okay. I'll say what I told Alan. My preference is Wednesday or Thursday.
Okay.
I don't care.
He told me Thursday or Friday, I think.
This is
All right.
This is so Alan. That's
All right, so
We're professional.
It's
Wednesday
the
or
alignment,
Thursday?
guys. It's the alignment.
what?
Yeah, it made us all dumb.
No, it just made me dumb.
Flash time. Okay. Listen to that show and rate and review all the shows and subscribe. 5
Yes.
stars or go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, I was. You could have just been nice about it.
Alan
I'm too
Hunter
tired.
closes
He's-
every episode by saying, "Don't fucking follow me anywhere."
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's negging them.
We're the same show that tells Nazis, follow us and then kill yourself. Do you know
Yeah.
what show you're on? Okay? Do you
I honestly don't care
know
if
what
they get-
show you're on?
Giving a review where they just curse us out, as long as it's still 5 stars, is probably equal.
Yes.
Yeah, you can
here's
say
the
something about my
thing.
mother, but as long as you leave me 5 stars, I don't give
Yeah.
a shit what you got to say about my family.
You can say
Yep.
we are the worst people you have ever heard. You can say this is the shittiest podcast ever. And if you give us 5 stars, we will read it on the show. We will
I'll
read
read
it
it.
on the show.
I will find a way to read it to dramatic music. I'll read it to the Inception trailer theme, okay?
Ooh.
I know, we literally talked about Steven Seagal for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Over 5 minutes. Like,
Yeah. Eric, well,
Yeah.
no, I'm not going to say this, but anything that you put in that we will read on the show. So
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Please do.
With some discretion, of course. We will.
No discretion whatsoever.
Eric, if you put a review that's just Pennywise shit, we will not read it on the show.
Yeah, moratorium on that, too.
So what you should do is change it from Pennywise and just pick a random Liefeld character and just swap out the
Exactly.
names.
Exactly. Or I'll write it as a Savage Dragon fan.
We
I
are
wonder
not
what you- I
bots.
wonder
We
what
will
the shit
recognize.
feels like.
Okay. Alan, did you have any plugs that were not?
Yeah, I have plugs. I've got information. I've got stats.
All
You
right.
start reading off stats, I'm going to just call for the end of the show.
No. Follow me on
He's like, oh, well, now I don't.
Follow me on Twitter at @TheAlanMirror. Follow me on Instagram at ComicsBoy. You can find my writing on losthorror.wordpress.com. This month has been the best month of 2018, which I feel happy about because I think I did the impossible, and that made me mighty. And the impossible was getting Gary to write a review of a game.
A little bit too much back end, but yes, I endorse this statement. Yeah.
Tomorrow I'm going to be on Wikipixelated.
Nice.
Okay, Alan, spreading himself out.
Spread those wings, baby boy.
Fly.
Thunderfly. Okay,
And,
we're done.
wait. Don't forget to go to the Phantom Zone group.
That's right.
And I was going to thank Eric, but we don't use any of his music on the After Darks, right?
No, I mean, if he wants to do like a Twilight Zone remix, though, I'll use it, and then, but yeah.
But thank Eric anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Eric's cool, and I use him on every single CW episode, so that's good. Yeah. Cool.
All right, well, that's it. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
As
Bye.
Pennywise
Man,
slowly
I'm
undid
done.
his trousers.
No, you don't. I will. We sell
And
Leadline
now you found a way to get
DVDs.
Alex going into this.
Vaya con Dios.